Right, so we're going to talk about the creatine phosphate energy system, and this is the body's immediate energy system. So we're going to go back to what we talked about earlier, which is ATP and the breakdown of it. So what we have is 3 seconds of ATP, which is 1 adenosine and 3 phosphate molecules, stored within this muscle tissue or muscle cells. Okay, so there's 3 seconds of that you can use immediately. As we talked about before, when this bond breaks here, it produces energy that enables us to contract our muscles. Okay, and this one here enables us to contract our muscles instantly. Now, what we'll find, and we're going to reduce the size of this, so here's our muscle cells, is what we also have stored in our muscle cells is creatine phosphate. Okay, and it's stored directly inside the muscle cells. So we can see here we've got 1 creatine molecule and 1 phosphate molecule. Now what this does is we have an enzyme called creatine kinase, and that's going to break down this bond here. Okay, so we'll break down that bond, and when that bond breaks, it is used to resynthesize the bond between the last P on the ATP. Okay, so it recreates, when this creatine phosphate breaks down, it resynthesizes ATP to produce more energy. Now, there's roughly around 120 grams of creatine phosphate stored in your muscles, okay, which is not a lot, and therefore it's not able to produce that much energy. Okay, every creatine phosphate, so every creatine phosphate here that breaks down, it only produces 1 ATP. Okay, so it only produces 1 ATP, which is a very limited amount. All right. Now it's used for instant explosive activities, and it's used without any presence of oxygen whatsoever during the process. So if we think about it now, and we think about what is it used for, well, it's used for activities such as, if we get an image, such as high explosive or high intensity exercises such as sprinting, or throwing, or weightlifting. And so those exercises, or those activities, they only last for around 10 to 12 seconds. So they require immediate energy and explosive, and they are explosive activities. Okay, so they only last for 10 to 12 seconds, so not very long at all. All right, now roughly, so it lasts for 10 to 12 seconds, and once that's used up, it would require around 1 to 3 minutes. 1 to 3 minutes for you to recover from that explosive exercise, so that you can produce more CP and therefore create more ATP to fuel that activity. Now, depending on the types of training you can do, roughly, if you're focusing on developing this energy system, then you want to be training short explosive activities for around 10 to 15 seconds, no longer, and you may get some gains from it. But that is a short introduction to the creatine phosphate system and how it works.